This is Wellspring, presented by Spectrum Health Zeeland Community Hospital on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.
And we welcome you to Wellspring for this Thursday, July 22nd. And joining us as she does most Thursday mornings at this time, it's Sara Donkersloot. Good morning, Sara.
Good morning, Gary. And Gary, it's summer and 'tis the season for picnicking. Joining me via Zoom this morning is Spectrum Health registered dietitian Bailey Parmelee to give you some warm weather food safety tips when you're packing a picnic and some suggestions on how to make your spread tasty yet healthy. Good morning, Bailey.
Hi, Sara. Thanks for having me.
It's a delight to have you on. And you're a dietitian at Spectrum Health Reed City Hospital, so it's really nice to be able to use the greater team to share their expertise. So tell us, what do you do?
So I actually work kind of in a variety of spaces here at the hospital. I work with our rehab and nursing center. I see outpatients for just medical nutrition counseling. And then I also work with our community health department, just teaching nutrition classes and doing various community events.
And Bailey, what do you enjoy about your work?
I think the thing I enjoy the most is just the fact that I get to work with a variety of patients. So, I get to work with kids and teens, but I also get to work with adults and the geriatric population. So a good variety.
Well, and this is certainly variety, because when I reached out to you and said, Bailey, will you share, your expertise on the radio? You right away said yes. So thank you for your willingness. So we're going to talk about picnicking. And, everyone enjoys a picnic. And, it's been really, really warm. So I guess the question is, with the warm weather that we've seen, 87, 89, with the humidity, even higher, is it safe to picnic?
Yeah, I think it's definitely still safe to picnic. Just making sure that we're keeping our foods at the correct temperatures to prevent any foodborne illnesses is important.
So give us some tips on how to prevent a foodborne illness. But first of all, maybe I'm going to ask you, what is a foodborne illness?
Yeah, so foodborne illness, there's lots of different types of them. But basically, if it's not kept at the correct temperature and then we consume it, it can cause us some unwanted symptoms. Some a little worse than others, just depending on which foodborne illness.
So sometimes maybe that would be called like a food poisoning, correct? Is that
right.
What we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So going back to my question, give us some tips on how to prevent a foodborne illness while spending the day at the beach, or, you're at a weekend camping and you don't have refrigeration, you're using a cooler.
Right. Yeah. So ideally, if we had access to a fridge, that would be the best situation. But if we do just have, say, a cooler, just making sure that we're refilling it with ice, pretty often, especially if it's 80, 90 degrees out, to make sure those foods are staying cold. I know you can also buy, there are coolers that you can plug into your car or into an electrical outlet. So those can be helpful. Maybe if you're trying to keep a food hot, using a crock pot or some type of roasting pan, that can also be helpful.
So I guess the question would be, and I love to picnic, and the things that I like to bring to the picnic are the potato salad, or if I'm having a hamburger, I like to make certain that I have the mayonnaise out. And I'm always so conscious. I'm saying to my husband, I got to get that, in the refrigeration, because usually my picnics are in my backyard. So how long can food safely sit out on a warm day?
Yeah, so generally we don't want anything that's supposed to be refrigerated. We don't want it sitting out at room temperature for longer than 2 hours. So if it's a hot day out, I would recommend no longer than 1 hour. And kind of like what you were saying, maybe you take those condiments out of the cooler, put them on your burger or use them, and then put them straight back into the cooler versus leaving them out.
So what kinds of food need to remain cold? I know, I mentioned I'm very conscious of the mayonnaise and, the potato salad because I know mayonnaise is in there. Other things that we need to keep, at that cold temperature?
Yeah, really anything that's normally refrigerated, I would try to keep cold. So especially those dairy and meat products, because if they are out too long in that hot temperature, they tend to spoil a lot quicker. So like you said, any mayonnaise-based salads, whether it's macaroni, potato salad, those condiments like your mayonnaise, cheese, maybe deli meats or hot dogs, whatever you're grilling, really any of those things that should be refrigerated normally, you should try to keep cold.
So I know, they're making right now, I've even seen people with swimming pools, small little swimming pools, and
Yeah.
they have the ice in it and they're putting all their ingredients in it. Um, you know, that's a good suggestion, isn't it? If you're taking
Yes.
out potato salad outside, just put some ice in a bigger bowl and put your potato salad in the ice.
Yes, I would definitely suggest that. Yeah, kind of making an ice bath for those cold items. Yep, that's a really good idea.
Okay, so we talked about cold items. I guess the next thing that I want to go to is, when we're grilling something, what are the safe minimal internal cooking temperatures when we have that hot dog or hamburger or steak or pork on the grill?
Yeah, so of course it's going to depend on what type of meat we're cooking. But if we have hot dogs, brats, hamburgers, chicken, or any of that poultry, that all needs to be cooked to 165 degrees or more. And then if it's like our seafood, fish, whole cuts of beef or pork, those can be cooked to 145 or higher.
So when you're putting your thermometer in, where do you put it in and how far do you have to put it in to make certain that, you're getting the right temp?
Yeah, so I would recommend putting it in the thickest part. So, if you're cooking a chicken breast, put it in the thickest part of that chicken breast versus the tail end of it, because that's, where the most of the meat is.
So, what I hear you saying is, and, I have to really confess at this point, I really didn't use a meat thermometer till like about the last couple years. And now I have one, that we use, and we were cooking something this week. And I said to my husband, just use the meat thermometer to find out, if it was the correct temperature.
Right.
And we did. And I felt so much better about that. So what I hear you saying is we should have a meat thermometer around when we're grilling.
Yes, I would definitely suggest having a meat thermometer, because that's going to be the most precise way to tell if your food is done. I know a lot of times people will kind of judge it based off the color of the food or if the juice runs clear. But really the most accurate way is going to be with that meat thermometer.
And what I found out about the meat thermometer, it's really nice, the kind we have. It even has the temperatures, on the meat thermometer. So
yes,
it shows it because, else you're Googling and you're trying to figure out what's the correct temperature.
right.
And, we used to cut into the meat and we'd say, oh yeah, it looks pretty good. But really to get that accurate temperature, we need the thermometer.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to switch a little bit to asking for your expertise on talking about foods to bring to a picnic. So, picnics are known for potato chips, an abundance of snacks and other foods, which, may not be the healthiest. Do you have some suggestions on how to pack a picnic that's tasty? And I'm going to preface that with, when you go to a picnic, you want to go home with your dish empty because then that people really, really liked it. So, how can we make our picnics, with dishes that we know people are going to enjoy, but really a healthier option?
Yeah, there's tons of recipes out there, are lots of good ones. But just in general, instead of like our snacky chip type foods, maybe even trying like a whole grain cracker with hummus, or maybe a whole grain tortilla chip with salsa or guacamole for that salty snack. Vegetable trays are always a good option. Whatever vegetables you like, peppers, carrots, cucumbers, and then just using some type of low fat vegetable dip. One of my favorites is I take plain non-fat Greek yogurt, and then I mix in a packet of like the Hidden Valley ranch seasoning. And that's always a good option, or it goes over well usually when I make that. When it comes to like the entrees, I would say, instead of maybe hot dogs or hamburgers, trying to do something like vegetable chicken kebabs. That's one of my favorites. Or maybe even just grilling, a leaner protein of, say, the chicken, or maybe grilled salmon, and then having a healthier side salad. So, instead of a potato or a macaroni salad, maybe we make a pasta salad with a lighter dressing, and then we load it with vegetables and maybe use some whole grain noodles.
I think we're doing so much more today, I think, of grilling things. You can go to a farm stand. I know last weekend, my husband and I were grilling out, and we went by a farm stand, and I said, okay, let's pick up the summer squash, the zucchini, and let's put some onions and some peppers on it, and let's put it on the grill. And, we're thinking more that way, I think, about those vegetables that maybe we didn't eat as much, but we're saying there's lots of different things. We threw some seasoning on it, and we both commented, boy, this is really good. So when we go by that stand again this weekend, we're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But what I hear you saying is, look at those vegetables. And another nice option, I think, that always goes over well is fruit, the fresh fruit that's in season.
Yes, of course, fruit. You can eat that just plain, and for that sweet treat, you can pair it with like a low fat fruit dip, maybe trying like a parfait, yogurt with a little bit of nuts or chia seeds, and then mixed in with our fruit. Lots of options for fruit for sure.
So most picnic locations provide picnic tables, and some even provide grills. Do we need to use any precautions when, using a grill that's at a location?
Yeah, I would say, just kind of sanitizing like the picnic tables and the grill or whatever utensils that maybe other people have used there. But other than that, I think it's perfectly fine to use those.
So I want to switch to COVID, because even though, things are returning back to normal, we know that the Delta variant is out there. Many people have been vaccinated, but the vaccine is not yet available for children. So what should we take into consideration when we are picnicking with family, with children who have been not vaccinated, or, some people who have chosen to not be vaccinated?
Yeah, great, pertinent topic for sure. So I think definitely the social distancing guidelines are always a good idea if you're worried, about exposure. Of course, washing your hands with soap and water before you're preparing the food or before you're eating is always a good idea. If you don't have access to water and soap, using a hand sanitizer would also be good. And then kind of trying to avoid like buffet style picnicking. So maybe instead having pre-portioned items that you bring to the picnic, just to limit how many people are coming in contact with those food items.
I think that's a really good point, because I think we were really good about that in the midst of COVID. We wrapped things up and we gave it to people and handed it out. But we've become more, as things have opened up more, we've gone to more of that open concept. So right. Those are some good thoughts. We have about a minute left. Anything else that you would like to share as we think about eating healthy or picnicking during this summer season?
No, not that I can really think of right now. I feel like we covered it all, but I really appreciate you having me, and I hope everyone has a happy and healthy summer.
One last question. Any good resources that people can look at? I mean, just Googling, or what are some, when you talk with your clients, what are some places that you refer them to?
Yeah, so like specifically recipes, Spectrum Health has a culinary medicine page, and I send people to that page a lot because it has lots of healthy recipe ideas. So that's one option, but I guess more for like food guidelines, food safety, maybe checking out like the CDC's website. That would be a good one.
Well, we are out of time, Bailey. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for what you are doing out there in your neck of the woods, but sharing your expertise to our people on the western side in the Holland area. And until next week, Spectrum Health Zeeland Community Hospital wishes you well.